Tonight's story splits in two: a rule breach that exposes weak ministerial grip and a looming budget squeeze that could reshape family finances before Christmas. First, the facts. Rachel Reeves rented out her Southwark home without securing the borough's selective licence. After press interviews, she apologised and applied. Keir Starmer said her apology sufficed, but Number 10 later confirmed new information had emerged from emails sent and received by her husband, Nicholas Joycey. Those emails now published show the letting agent offered to apply for the licence and quoted the fee, yet never filed it. The firm Harvey and Wheeler has apologised, citing a staff departure, while Reeves says the responsibility was hers and she should have checked. What law and practice say is that selective licensing is enforced by local councils to police standards in the private rented sector. Southwark's stance is pragmatic. When it discovers an unlicensed let, it issues a warning and gives 21 days to apply. Fines or prosecution are generally for those who ignore warnings or where properties are unsafe. Reeves has now applied, so an enforcement action by Southwark looks unlikely. There is possible financial exposure. Even if the council takes no action, tenants can pursue a rent repayment order for periods when a property was unlawfully let. Press estimates suggest exposure up to roughly £38,000 on the rent level reported, though such awards depend on the tribunal's view of culpability and mitigation. The political handling of the situation is interesting. Starmer maintains confidence in his Chancellor, although Kemi Badenoch and others demand an ethics probe and even prosecution. The former Conservative MP Miriam Cates has pushed back on calls for resignation, calling the lapse insufficient to disqualify a Chancellor. The net effect is reputational. Reeves has campaigned for robust landlord rules and then fell foul of one. That's hypocrisy. In one sense, it fuels that sort of story for her opponents, discomfort for Labour backbenchers, memories of Boris Johnson. And even if this remains a paperwork failure rather than corruption, it stains her reputation just as much as her CV. My judgment on the rental issue is that this is classic diligence failure. A minister can delegate tasks to agents but cannot outsource accountability. Publishing the emails was wise. Accepting personal responsibility was essential. Unless a council or tribunal imposes a formal sanction, this should be containable. But it lands days before a high-stakes budget and it dents the narrative of grip. Now, the November problem, the Office for Budget Responsibility is preparing to cut its trend productivity assumption by about 0.3 percentage points. That single-line item change blows a 20+ billion hole in the medium-term public finances, making tax rises more likely if the Chancellor is to keep within her fiscal rules. What could move on the 26th of November? Well, there are three levers on the table in public debate: rates and thresholds on personal taxes. IFS estimates that raising all income tax rates by 1 percentage point yields about 10.9 billion a year by 2029 to 30. A 2p move would roughly double that order of magnitude. Politically toxic, but mathematically simple. Extending the freeze of income tax and NIC thresholds is a stealthier route. IFS puts 2 extra years of freezing at roughly £10 billion a year by 2029 to 30, on top of the large drag already banked. It quietly hauls more people into tax and more into higher bands. Some press chatter is floating around pairing an income tax rise with a national insurance cut or vice versa. That can shift burdens between workers, pensioners and landlords without improving the overall maths much. The OBR's own material underlines how central income tax already is to the tax take. Any swap still has losers and credibility is at stake if manifesto language is stretched too far. The IFS has also warned against a half-baked dash for revenue. Better to fix distortions across savings, pensions and business reliefs and slap on hurried hikes that harm investment and work incentives. That advice points towards coherence over quick cash. A mid-cycle rates rise on income tax would be the first of its kind in decades. It would also collide with the government's promise not to raise the basic higher or additional rates, yet the arithmetic is unforgiving. The productivity downgrade, soft growth and welfare decisions have left the Chancellor with little headroom. The politics of say one thing, do another can be more damaging than the tax itself. What a credible budget would look like is something like this. Level with the country on the OBR hit. Publish a path that reconciles rules with reality. Avoid headline grabbing but distortionary fiddles. If tax must rise, prefer transparent base broadening and genuine reform to stealth and gimmicks. Anchor any near-term pain to a supply-side programme that lifts planning, skills and investment bottlenecks so that next year's OBR round is not another exercise in downgrades. The rental episode shows a Chancellor who failed to double-check a basic compliance step. The budget will show whether she can double-check her own instincts under pressure. The first was a lapse of care. The second will be a test of statecraft.